Welcome back to Daytime Ottawa, or I should say welcome. Welcome back if you watched yesterday. I'm a little thrown off because I've been talking curling for the last 15 minutes with our first guest. And you may recall, just before the holiday break, we were talking about the fact that the Men's World Curling Championships are coming to Ottawa in April at TD Place. I mean, it's a great opportunity. But the other thing we talked about is how incredibly accessible the sport is. And here to tell me more about it is Elaine Brimicombe. She's a volunteer with the wheelchair curling program at the RA Centre. Yes. Welcome back, Elaine.
Thank you very much.
And Elaine, this really does speak to what we were talking about, right? In that last segment is how accessible it is and for any age and any ability, and this proves the point. Tell me about wheelchair curling and the growth that we've seen.
So we've really seen wheelchair curling grow over the past number of years. I think in part it started with the Olympics, so the Paralympics, including wheelchair curling, and then World Curling Federation included wheelchair curling, and it's really grown in popularity, and people on YouTube go to YouTube and they're able to watch some of these games, and Canada has done extremely well with wheelchair curling.
Yeah, so what kind of success have we seen in this country?
So Canada won the bronze medal at the Paralympics in Beijing in 2022, and a local curler, Kalinda Joseph, was on that team. And we've also won world medals, and we've won, and then of course national medals, and locally we've won provincial medals as well. So it's really, it's a great sport, and people are really picking it up, and I'm excited to teach people about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to talk about the RA Centre in particular, because when you built this sort of curling center of excellence, you had in mind to make it more accessible so that you could do this. So just tell us about that process and how you've managed to do that, because I think you took over a hockey rink over there, at the RA Centre?
Right, we did. So we moved, hockey moved out,
okay, and
curling moved into where the hockey was. And of course the change rooms had been around for 50, 60 years, men's hockey.
Right.
So that was completely gutted,
okay,
and rebuilt, and it's now fully accessible. It's universal, and it's wide open.
Okay.
So no men's change room, no women's change rooms, no men's washrooms. Everything is accessible and universal and family friendly.
So for people, we're just seeing some photos here. Tell me about, what's a little bit different. The rules are the same, but of course the delivery is much different, right?
Right. So wheelchair curling follows the same rules that able-bodied curling does, with the exception of if it's a full wheelchair curling team, they won't be sweeping.
Right.
Right. And they use what we call a delivery stick. And so from a seated position, they have a delivery stick. It's about 6 to 7 feet long.
Okay.
So that they can propel forward, and it's very light compared to a curling stick. And it just sort of clips on like this, and then the wheelchair curler uses their upper body strength and pushes that rock down the ice.
And I guess the only other difference would be using the stick, where we would actually manipulate it to curl. The stick actually does the job for you, is that right?
Right, the stick will do the job for the curler if it's set up properly. Yeah, and if the wheelchair curler is curling with able-bodied curlers, then there is sweeping, because they will sweep that person's rock for them.
Right, of course. Yeah. You did have sort of a try-it program, right, that you've implemented. I know we have one coming up. We'll talk in just a minute. But tell me what the feedback was.
We were pleasantly surprised, overjoyed.
Really? Nice.
with the outcome of our try-it. So we had about 20 people come out for a try-it event. We had instructors from local instructors that are trained in wheelchair curling, wheelchair curling coaches, and we had Curling Canada sent one of their national coaches as well, and we had 2 hours out on the ice with people who had never tried wheelchair curling, and it was a ton of fun to see people get engaged and enjoy the game. And then from there, we ran a Learn to Curl program for wheelchair curlers.
Oh, excellent.
Which was a 10-week program.
Okay.
And it was with great success. And
well attended then?
It was well attended, and our wheelchair members of our wheelchair curling came out and participated, and then we had coaches and instructors as well.
How easy is it to really get into the sport and start having some early success?
I think with curling, it's easy to get into.
Right.
And as I think every curler will admit it's easy to learn, hard to master.
Right.
But you know, it's addictive.
It is.
As you
I
know.
can speak to that. I've become a little obsessed, and I apologize to my wife if she's watching right now.
It becomes a little addictive after a while, but.
But I think one of the beauties too, Elaine, and again, we touched on this before the holidays, but it's the social aspect. You know, I don't think it doesn't matter what club you go into. You know, I absolutely love my club, but I think I would have the same experience at the RA Center or at the Ottawa Curling Club. Tell us why that social aspect is so addictive within itself too.
Yeah, well, I think one of the nice things about curling is it's self-regulated. We don't have officials out on like at regular curling clubs.
Right.
We don't have officials. So if you go over the hog line, for example, or if you cause an infraction yourself, you declare it. You say, "Oh," and your rock comes off the ice. Like
Right.
you manage yourselves. And I think that's important. And it sort of builds that confidence, you know, between players that everybody knows what they're doing and they'll call themselves out if they have a mistake. And then locally, a lot of curlers, after they play their game, the winning team buys the losing team a drink at the bar.
So it's a win-win.
It's a win-win, for sure. Some people don't mind losing, they get a drink. So, but then people sit together.
Yeah.
And then they talk about the game, and then they learn more about their fellow curlers and who they are and what they are. And yeah, it just makes a very friendly, engaging community.
Well, that's what I've noticed. You know, now I've created some just amazing friendships, right? You know, I mentioned off the top that the World Men's Curling Championships are coming here, and I'm going with a great friend that I met, you know, from the Learn to Curl program. So it just goes to show you, right? A great way to get out and socialize, get some physical activity. But for a lot of people that perhaps find themselves isolated, which we've seen during the pandemic, but just in general, you know, a lot of people find this is a great way to get out of the house.
Yeah, and you know, it's not a 4-hour, 5-hour, 6-hour game.
Right.
You're, you know, at the most on the ice for 2 hours, and people say, "Oh, you're on the ice; it must be cold," but it's not cold as long as you dress properly.
Yeah, and you know, if you're sweeping out there, you can you wear some layers because you'll. Outside of the you know, Try It Curling with the wheelchair program, do you have days where people can come in and sort of watch? Do you invite people to come to the club and just you know, understand and get a good idea of the experience?
So for wheelchair curling on January 21st, from 1 to 3 p.m., we're having a Try It Day or a Give It a Go, and it's open to anybody 14 years of age and older who uses a wheelchair.
Okay.
And they can pre-register on the RA website. They can go to the RA.com website, look at sports, select curling, pre-register. So we have enough volunteers and coaches and instructors
Right,
out.
of course.
And then, you know, if they want to bring friends with them, they can, or family members, they're welcome to come and watch and see the success, because
Right.
people will be throwing a rock by the end of that 2-hour period.
Yeah, come on out and watch and enjoy a beverage. I know Sportsnet's got some curling starting, is it today?
Yes.
Yeah, starting today. So, you know, if you want to get an idea of what it's like, how the professionals go, you can check the schedule on sportsnet.ca. We'll be back with more after this.